Here's the business model. A big blockbuster gets announced, and a studio called The Asylum clocks the release date. Then they crank out their own version, give it a suspiciously similar title, and release it close enough to the real thing to catch a few confused viewers. It's called a mockbuster, and The Asylum has made a career out of staying just on the legal side of plagiarism. If you're not the type to write off every cheap knockoff on site, let's go find the best of the worst. War of the Worlds is the place to start. It came out one day before Steven Spielberg's film of the same name and became a massive rental hit. Blockbuster Video reportedly stocked more than 100,000 copies, reaching customers who were looking for something close to the Spielberg version. On the surface, this War of the Worlds follows the same basic plot as Spielberg's version. A family man, played here by C. Thomas Howell instead of Tom Cruise, tries to survive an attack by alien war machines. His family disappears in the chaos. He meets both allies and enemies along the way, and the aliens eventually die because they have no immunity to Earth's bacteria. The main difference is Victor, his companion for much of the film. Victor is a pastor who believes the alien invasion is the rapture, and much of the middle section follows him losing and then regaining his faith. So despite the lasers, poison gas, gunshots, and on-screen deaths, this is also a Christian film with an inspirational message. That puts the movie in a strange middle ground. Too much preaching for some viewers, and probably too much PG-13 style bloodshed for others. But it worked well enough to get a more action-oriented sequel in 2008. Transmorphers was the Asylum's answer to Michael Bay's Transformers. It was released on DVD 1 week before Bay's film opened in theaters, which is exactly the timing a mockbuster wants. But the funny thing is, Transmorphers is not really a Transformers movie. It plays more like a low-budget alien invasion film. Earth has already been taken over by giant alien robots called Z-bots, and the remaining humans are hiding underground. Their plan is to capture one robot, connect to its system, and shut the others down from inside. The first team sent to do this is wiped out, so General Van Ryberg makes a more desperate move. She thaws out Warren Mitchell, a tough soldier who had been sentenced to 100 years in cryosleep for being a radical. Mitchell leads a volunteer team to the surface, but the mission soon creates more problems, including the risk of exposing the underground city. The robot effects are where the cheapness hurts it most, especially once the story moves above ground. But with a budget of around $250,000, how much should we really expect? The build-up before the surface mission works better than expected, and the character interactions give the movie more life than a lot of Asylum productions. There is also a mid-film twist where Mitchell turns out to be an android without knowing it, which is hard to take too seriously. But as a cheap underground robot war movie, Transmorphers does more than its reputation suggests. In 2009, a prequel was released titled Transmorphers: Fall of Man. Then, in 2023, a sequel called Transmorphers Mech Beasts followed, in case you are brave enough for this kind of thing. I Am Omega came out 1 month before the big-budget Will Smith film I Am Legend. That film was part of a longer chain. The Omega Man in 1971, before that The Last Man on Earth in 1964, and behind all of them, Richard Matheson's 1954 novel I Am Legend. The Asylum's title basically just folds the Omega Man back into I Am Legend. The movie follows the setup as closely as it can. Renchard is living as a lone survivor, holed up in his house, fighting infected people who have become zombies. In that one detail, it is closer to Matheson than the mutants in the Will Smith film. Then, Renchard gets a video call from a girl trapped downtown, asking him to rescue her, and at first, he is not sure it is real. For all its problems, I Am Omega has a few things that work. The lonely video message scenes are pretty strong, and the movie gets more interesting once the two soldiers arrive. They want the girl to stop scientists from developing immunity, because restoring civilization would destroy the survivalist illusion they have built for themselves. About a month before Terminator Salvation, the fourth film in the Terminator franchise, the Terminators arrived on DVD. The cover makes it look like an army of chrome skeletons is coming. In the actual movie, there is only one cyborg with that exoskeleton. The story is set in the future, where advanced military robots turn against humanity. A space station is taken over, cities are attacked, and the only way to stop the system is to reach the station and shut the whole thing down. So instead of just being a cheap Terminator copy, the movie ends up feeling like a strange mix of Terminator and Battlestar Galactica. And that is where some of the fun comes from. Paul Logan works well enough as the cyborg, and some of the effects are used more creatively than the budget should probably allow. But it is still the Terminators, of course. Battle Los Angeles came to theaters in 2011 as a big, muscular alien invasion action spectacle. And literally, the next day, the Asylum released Battle of Los Angeles. This time, there was not much to copy beyond the title idea, so in a strange way, Battle of Los Angeles almost becomes an original film, just one assembled from pieces of other alien invasion movies. The mothership over the city recalls District 9, the blue energy beam recalls Skyline, and the second half leans heavily into Independence Day. The result is passably serviceable. A massive saucer appears over Los Angeles, the military response fails, and a group of survivors is pulled into a fight that eventually leads to secret facilities, a captured alien, and a plan to use alien technology against the mothership. The women are probably the best part. Teresa Juntao plays the tough soldier role well, and Naya Peoples gets one of the film's best images, walking out of an explosion with a weapon over her shoulder. I would even call this one of the Asylum's better films. Atlantic Rim is the mockbuster version of Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim. Both films have giant monsters rising from the sea and fighting human-controlled robots. Both have a mixed group of heroes trying to save the world, and both spend plenty of time on CGI destruction during long fight scenes. The main difference is the pacing. Pacific Rim has a lot of action and very little downtime. Atlantic Rim is almost the reverse. People are constantly debating what to do, explaining things to each other, arguing about the same problems, and then explaining them again. Talking is obviously cheaper than showing a robot fire lasers into the mouth of a sea monster. A lot of the movie was shot at the same airport, which makes everything feel small and boxed in. The story does not always make sense, even after all those explanations, but once the film finally gets to the action, it is reasonably passable. Android Cop takes aim at the 2014 RoboCop remake. The film is set in Los Angeles in 2045. Officer Hammond is paired with a newly introduced android partner, whom he starts calling Andy. Their mission is to find the mayor's daughter, Helen, whose mind is trapped inside an android body through telepresence. That body has disappeared somewhere in the Zone, a forbidden section of the city cut off from the rest of Los Angeles. For a low-budget action film, Android Cop works reasonably well. There is some humor in the partnership between Hammond and Andy, even if the film misses a lot of the satirical potential that comes with a RoboCop premise. The more obvious problem is the future setting. Very little effort is made to disguise the present day, so the streets, cars, clothes, and buildings mostly look like ordinary Los Angeles. Roland Emmerich's Moonfall came out in 2022. The moon suddenly slips out of orbit and starts heading toward Earth, causing disasters across the planet. Moon Crash uses the same basic idea. The problem was that Moonfall itself barely made an impact at the box office after a pandemic-affected release, so there was not much of a bandwagon to catch. Still, Moon Crash ends up being more entertaining than the film it was chasing. The disaster here starts with a mining operation on the moon. The Taurus Corporation pushes the drilling too far, a massive fault line opens, and a large piece of the moon breaks away on a collision course with Earth. A transport ship is damaged in the breakaway. While back on Earth, Steve Sawyer is at his estranged wife Amanda's observatory when debris starts falling around the planet. The Pentagon wants to fire a nuclear missile at the fragment, but Steve argues that this would only make things worse. So the solution has to come from Steve, Amanda, and the astronauts still stuck near the moon. Here, the small scale works in the film's favor. The effects are decent, especially in the opening moon scenes, and the film gets some mileage out of engineering problems that sound almost plausible. It is still a cheap disaster movie, but it is a surprisingly workable one.